This is Barry Lewis, a YouTuber with almost 1 million subscribers who's been around for basically ever. He's one of the oldest YouTubers I work with in the sense that he has the longest longevity. He's been around for the last 10 years on YouTube creating content, and I've helped him not necessarily revitalize his channel, but I've helped breathe some life into it. I've helped double his revenue. I'm not going to disclose the numbers, but it's a pretty substantial increase. So from there, I wanted to break down exactly how I did all this, but I wanted to focus on one specific thing that is really, really interesting as part of a macro strategy. Now, a lot of times I talk about ideas, I talk about this, I talk about thumbnails, I'll talk about that, but this is something that's a little bit less sexy. It's going to be data-driven ideation and data-driven strategy. So I wanted to break down when I started working with this channel. It was right after the crookie, right? This is when I started working with this channel. And the main focus here was I was looking through his channel and I was figuring out what was working, what was doing really, really well. So I scrolled back. I looked around, I tried to figure some things out. This kind of stood out to me, even though it was a 1x outlier, it seemed relatively interesting. And I just kind of looked for patterns and to see if there's any patterns on the channel. This is the first thing I do with any client, just to see if there's any low-hanging fruit that we could be missing based on their certain preferences, maybe my certain preferences, right? Just so we can cover everything. And one of the things that consistently did well on Barry's channel, if I go back in the past, is air fryer, right? I tried the $40 Ollie bread maker, right? More of a gadget type thing. But air fryers and gadgets did really, really well. So based on that, after crunching the data, right, it was really, really interesting because there was a blind spot to both him and I in the sense that, hey, like, okay, obviously he knew the kitchen gadgets as well, but he didn't know the air fryer stuff did as good. And I didn't expect to do as good as well. So from there, I started doing some data. This is 1 of 10. 1 of 10 helps aggregate ideas. It is the literal best tool for ideation. And this is exactly how I used it. Like Barry's even on here now. So if I go to the filters here, this is the filters I used. I looked in the last year just to see what the interest was for air fryers. I looked at a multiplier of 3x. And then I wanted to do, let's say, 100K views. As a minimum amount of views is 100K. So I'll apply these changes and I want to see how viral air fryer content is. I just want to see how often air fryer content shows up. If it's air fryer food, if it's air fryer specific. Air fryer is the key thing that links basically all these things together, which means there's a actually massive total addressable market for air fryers and there's a large interest, right? Just because something has a large total addressable market does not necessarily mean it's massively interesting. There's a little bit of a disconnect there, but in this case, we can see that not only is there a large market for air fryer content, it is also interesting, right? People are interested in the content because basically anyone who has a kitchen in like a first world English speaking country, probably in just Europe countries in general, probably have air fryers as it makes things easy to cook, especially in American audiences. Just really convenient type of things to have, right? So by doing that, I then just was like, okay, well, we're just gonna do air fryer content as part of our main content pillar. Now we're moving away from that as we've basically exhausted it. Yes, there are more ideas to be had with the air fryer. Yes, we should go a little bit harder. But we want to just move away from it from a creative standpoint where it's like, hey, it's been cool. We don't want to be over reliant on it. And we also want to breathe some life into the ideas as some of the air fryer content gets boring. But with that being said, if I go back down all the way here, our first air fryer video based on that methodology did 191,000 views, a 2.5x outlier. This video did 2.5 or 2.4 times the views of the last 5 video moving average, which is really, 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 really important to note. That means this video did really, really good. So then from there, this is not an air fryer video. It looks like an air fryer video. But after this air fryer video that we did, which we were very, 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 very happy with, which was right here, we then tested this video here, the $100 AI air fryer. AI was really, really big. AI appliances in general were really interesting. An AI mirror, we saw that do really well at one point. We saw other AI appliances do really well, and we figured an AI air fryer could be kind of interesting as it was the topic of the month. This is going to be presence of mind ideation wrapped into something that does really well because we were leveraging the fact it was presence of mind, and we tried this, and it did really, really well as well. Next up, we did, the best 5 foods to cook in an air fryer, apparently, right? That was kind of his title. I liked it. My idea. Again, another air fryer centric video, almost 200,000 views. And guess what? 18 air fryer hacks, tips, and tricks tested. Again, almost 200,000 views. Then we did testing kitchen gadgets, but each gets more expensive. This has an air fryer in it. But it's kind of interesting. And then lastly, I tried using classic dishes using an only air fryer. Maybe not lastly, actually, but we did that one. That one did really well. And then again, I tested the cheapest air fryers in the world. That one I actually thought was a really good video. And then we did cheapest versus most expensive air fryer in the world. That one, again, I thought was a really interesting video. But as you can see, after a while, our views are getting less and less and less, right? Okay, like it peaked at roughly around 200,000. It got 193,000 twice. And then on there, it's kind of on a decline. This is what we call viewer fatigue. This is also why we are pivoting pivoting away from the air fryer content. We've really kind of exhausted it. There are more ideas to air fryers. We have tons of ideas for air fryers actually, but we're not going to do it no matter how good they are, just because we need to give the audience a little bit of a break. And I wanted to show you that strategy and focusing on how I came up with like the air fryer stuff based on the fact that I looked backwards in this channel for information and I found some low-hanging fruit. Maybe you could do this to your own channel as well. Look at past performing, really high performing videos and see if there's anything that links those together, and then also do some market research to your competitors. In this case, we just did like obviously we looked in the past as a way to get an indicator, and then I looked into that indicator as basically as simple as doing air fryer on YouTube first and foremost. And then I was like, okay, well, you know, some of this stuff is popping up. It's pretty cool. Then I did air fryer on 1 of 10 with this exact filter set. In the last year, 100K and at least a 3X, because that's what I was looking for on Barry's channel roughly, because that's the type of content I would like to get for Barry's channel is at least 100K at a 3X, which I think I successfully did to a pretty good extent. And yeah, we just see air fryer does really well. Then I was like, okay, well, obviously I do a lot of YouTube stuff, right? So I know for a fact what is working in the sense of what's interesting to people, what viewers are watching based on my other clientele and my other exposure to just YouTube in general as much as I consume. And then we just ran it up in the popular styles. We ran it up in just the popular formats within the niche as well, because some of these things could have been massively viral. But yeah, like testing the $100 air fryer, right? Because I knew this is a good price point. It's kind of a premium air fryer. Also AI as well, kind of bashing that in there. Testing it here as well with where it is cheap versus most expensive air fryer. Yeah, it's not doing as well, but it's just something a little bit different. I tried the cheapest air fryers in the world. Yeah, again, trying something a little bit different there with the air fryer with a popular format. Less so like with a food focused format, like, right? This is a very food focused format, right? This is another very food focused format. This is actually a great one from, I think it's like the home cook guy. He did like 11 foods that are better like X way, and I'm like, oh, well, let's do that for air fryer. But yeah, so thought it was massively interesting how I came up with those ideas and talking about like necessarily a macro strategy with focusing on data as the main driving point and increasing view floor through that. Looking back into your past data to get some low hanging fruit, and then looking into that to see if it actually is viable, if you should be able to do it. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many decent videos are there for the taking if you just look at the past data for indicators and things that you may have missed, because I guarantee that is the case. That's what happened with Barry. We missed it together, and then after I delved into it a little bit, I was able to find it out, which is awesome. Really, really appreciate Barry for letting me work on his channel. He is a great client of mine. And if you want to become a client of mine, you can DM me on Twitter at vaccine_. We currently have 2 or 3-ish spots open for clientele based on kind of what your needs are. We work with every single niche from cooking to basketball to gaming to business to whatever other business. Like maybe you do a fish tank thing. I don't know. That could actually be kind of interesting now to think about it. But yeah, so if you have a channel and you want to scale your channel, please consider DMing me. Prices are pretty hefty. I will not lie. So it's going to be no less than a few $1,000s to work with me for a minimum of 3 months. Heads up, this is not a small thing. This is for people that are already established that have the capital to spend. So thank you very much. And if you want to know more, please let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one.